Hello everyone. I have just started my second YouTube channel and this is for beginners, chess for beginners. And the first video I'm going to be making is for complete beginners. For someone who is new to chess, all the rules will be explained in this video. So before we start, let me make it clear that if you already know the basics of the game, then this video is not for you. If you're not clear about the basics and if you are totally new to the game, then this is the perfect way to start learning chess. So in this video, we're going to learn first pieces and piece movements, how the pieces move. Then we're going to learn what is check and how to give check with each piece. Then we're going to learn what is checkmate and what are the basic checkmate patterns. And finally, we are going to learn the special rules of chess, which is castling and en passant. Once you learn these rules, these basics, you will be able to play games. And once you start practicing games, chess is a game that you will fall in love with, like I did. So let's get started. So this is how the chessboard looks like when you start a game. Let's first see what the pieces are called. White has got these pieces and black has got the same pieces, 16 pieces each. The pieces in front, these are called pawns. These are the weakest pieces in chess. Behind are the main pieces. Now the piece in the center over here is the king. This is the queen. Now the piece in the corner is the rook. Next to it, you will see the knight. And next to it, you will see a bishop. So there are two knights and two bishops and two rooks, one queen and one king, and eight pawns. The same for black as well. So rook, knight, bishop, king, queen, bishop, knight, rook, and pawns. So these are our pieces. Now we will see how each of these pieces move. They have their own ways of movement. Once we understand that, we will be able to make moves with each of the pieces. So let us start with a very simple piece, the rook. The rook is a very straightforward piece. I say straightforward because it has no complication. It just moves straight. So it can go up, down, left, and right. That's it. It can go as many squares as it wants. If you want to move this rook to this square, you can move it. Or if you want to move it all the way till here, you can move it. Or if you want to go back, you can do it. Any of these squares, you can move the rook to. You can see these dots. Those are the squares the rook can move to. If there is some black piece in the way, you can take it. Like imagine there is a pawn over here. The rook can just take it. So in one move, you can't get here because there's an obstacle. You can go till here and take the pawn, capture the pawn. We call it a capture. So if there's something in the way of the rook can capture it. That's true for all pieces. Now let's see the bishop. The bishop is kind of like the opposite of a rook. The bishop goes diagonally. It's a very pointy piece, as you can see. That's how you can remember it. It goes only diagonally. So this bishop can go to any of these squares. So as you know, there are two bishops, right? One will be on a light square. So this is the light squared bishop. You can go to any of these squares through the light squares. And the other one will be on a dark square. And that will go only through the dark squares. So this bishop can go only through light squares and this bishop can go only through dark squares, right? So only diagonally. So rook goes straight, bishop goes diagonally. Now let's consider the queen. So you know this is the queen. On a 2D chessboard, the queen looks a little different, but on a 3D chessboard, the queen looks different. On online chess, this is how the queen looks like, and king also is slightly different when you play over the board. Okay, now queen is the most powerful piece in chess because queen can go straight like a rook and also diagonally like a bishop. It's like a rook and bishop combined. It can go to any of these squares. You see the number of squares the queen covers, all these dots. So either diagonal or straight. You can't go straight and then diagonal in one motion. In one move, you can only go either straight or diagonal. So queen is most powerful because it can do all these things. Like it can do more stuff. It can move more compared to other pieces. Just like rook and bishop, queen can go any number of steps. Now let's take His Majesty. The lazy king. The king is lazy because king can only go one square. So any of these squares. It cannot go more than one. So king can go any direction, straight or diagonal, but only one step at a time. So you can just go around it. It can't go two steps. Not possible. It, it cannot go here. It can go here, over here. That's possible, right? Or here, or here, or here. Diagonally or straight, but only one step, right? That's why king is not a very powerful piece. King is an important piece. We'll see why later when we learn check and checkmate. But king is not very powerful because it can just go one step at a time. Rook, bishop, queen can go any number of steps, right? Now let's take the pawn. Okay, let's start with the knight and then pawn. So knight is not a conventional piece. Not conventional as in it does not go straight or diagonal. It doesn't go straight or slanting. Knight goes like an L, the alphabet L. So when you draw an L, when you write an L, you draw a long line and then a small line, right? A vertical line and then a horizontal line. So knight goes like that, like this. 1 2 turn, or if you want to draw a normal L like this, see 1 2 turn. Or if you want to go like here, 1 2 turn, or here, or here, or here. It can also go like sleeping 1 2 and then turn. So like this. So horizontal 1 2 and then turn. So you can remember it this way. It goes 1 2 and then turn. So 1 2 will be straight. So this is straight and then turn. Or like this. 1 2 and turn. Or 1 2 and turn. Or like this. Or like this. Or here. Or here. Or here. Or here. Knight can jump above other pieces. So that is one special power for the knight. No other piece can jump, right? If you keep a rook here, and let's say there's a bishop over here, the rook cannot jump and come here. That's not possible. It can only go to these squares. You can see the dots. It can't come in this direction because it's blocked. But knight can jump. So sorry. Knight can jump. So let's say there's a knight here, and let's say there's a bishop over here, and let's say there's a rook over. Doesn't matter. It can jump above the two pieces. So it goes 1 2 and turn. It can jump over pieces and go to the required square, which is L. Now, for other pieces, if there is some piece in the way, you capture it, right? So if there's a rook here and let's say there's a knight over here, the rook can capture it, correct? Or let's say there's a bishop over here and let's say there's a black queen over here. The bishop can capture this or the knight. Even the rook can capture the knight. So it's up to you. If you're white, you will do one of these things. You want to capture pieces. So you'll do one of these things. Now, the knight does not capture in that way. So if you have a knight over here, and let's say there is a rook over here, it will go 1 2 and capture it. At the end of the L, if there is something, you can capture it. If the rook was, so instead of here, if this rook was over here, then the knight can't capture it. It can go above it and come here, but it can't capture the rook. It'll only capture at the end of the L. So this knight can also capture this knight, right? 1 2 and turn. Yeah. So that's about the knight. Now we come to the minions, the pawns. So when you start the game, pawns will be on the second square, right, in front of the main pieces. And black will also have pawns over here. Now, pawns move only forward. Pawns can't come back. All the other pieces can go back as well. No problem. Even king or knight, anything. Everything can go back as well. But pawns can't go back. So once you push this pawn, it moves only forward, front one step. Once you push it, you cannot come back. It will only go forward. And if the pawn is on the starting square, it can go two steps. After that, it can only go one step at a time. So if it is white's move, I will play two steps. If you want to, you can go two steps or you can go one step. That's up to you. But if it's on the starting square, you have the option of moving two steps directly. But after that, it can only go one step at a time. Right? And if the pawn manages to reach the end of the board, like let's say, let me keep an actual position. Let's say pawns here. And let us say black king is over here and white king is over here. And this is the position, let us say. Now, white pushes. Black will somehow make a move. White pushes again. Black will, let's say, make a move. And white pushes. And the pawn reaches the end. So when a pawn reaches the end of the board, you can promote it to any of these four pieces. But of course, you would want to promote to a queen because that's the most powerful piece, right? So it got promoted. So whenever any of your pawns reach the end of the board, then you can promote it into a queen or any piece you want. That is only for pawns, not for other pieces. Only if a pawn reaches the end, you can make a queen. But getting a pawn to the end of the board is very difficult. It can happen when there are very few pieces. At the end of the game, it's usually possible, not at the beginning. So don't start pushing pawns in the beginning and try to promote them. That's not possible. Opponent will take it. When there are very few pieces, then you can start pushing your pawns forward and try to make a new queen. Now, one more thing is, imagine you have one queen and one more pawn reaches the end, like going one step, one step, one step, it reaches the end. Then you can make one more queen. That is completely fine. So let me show you an example. Let us say you have two pawns over here and king somewhere here. Kings will always be there on the board. Now let's say white push the pawn. Yeah, black makes a move. White promoted. Black makes a move. We'll push the other pawn as well. We push the pawn and we promote again to another queen. We can promote to any piece, but we would want to promote to queen. So the more queens you have, the better. But you don't need more queens, more than two. Two is enough to win the game. But we will learn how to win the game later. Right? For now, we have to just understand if a pawn reaches the end of the board, you can make it a queen. Even if you already have a queen on the board, you can make it a queen. All right. So now we have learned how the pieces move. We know that the rook goes straight, the bishop goes diagonal, the queen can go straight or diagonal, the king can go straight or diagonal, but only one step, and the knight goes L, 1, 2, and turn, and the pawns go only forward one step. Starting square, it can go two steps, but after that, only one step. Knight can jump above other pieces like this, and pawns, if they reach the end of the board, become a queen or any piece you want. They get promoted, right? So that was our first part of the basics, piece movements. So now you know how each piece moves, which is good. Now let us see how to win a chess game. Check and then later checkmate. All right. So checkers when the king is in danger. Whenever your king or your opponent's king is in danger, it's a check. So how does the king come in danger? Let me give you an example. Let's say white king is somewhere here and you have a rook. Okay. Now, if you move your rook over, sorry, if you move your rook over here, rook goes straight. So rook goes over here. Now it's a check. King is in danger, right? If it is black's move, black has to save the king. When your king is in check, you have to leave other things and you have to protect your king. Protect as in save your king. So right now, rook is giving a check to the king. So king has to save itself somewhere safe. You can go here or here or here or here or here. You can't go here because then it is still check. You have to move somewhere safe. Now imagine there was one more rook over here. Okay. So the king can't go there. Then the king has to go only here, here or here. You have to move the king somewhere safe from a check. You can't go into another check. That is called illegal. And if you make some other move, let's say you have other pieces and you make some other move in offline chess, then it's also called illegal. So when king is in check, you have to save your king. And if you can't save the king, then game is over. That is called checkmate. So right now it's a check. The king will move out and the game continues. Right? So the rook gives check like this. So let me give you an example again. Let's say black king is over here and you have a rook over here and your king is somewhere else. So how do we give a check to this king? Of course, you can't attack a king with a king because then your king won't be safe. So you can't go next to a king. Here it's anyway far away. So we have to give a check with the rook. Sorry, I have to set the board. Sorry, this is the rook. This is the position. Let me load the position. So in this position, to give a check, we have to use our rook. So where to move the rook? You can move it over here. That's a check, right? Black will move somewhere safe and the game goes. Apart from this square, where else can we move the rook? You can also move it over here. That's also check, right? So king again has to move somewhere safe. Can't go here or here. King will have to move somewhere safe and the game goes on, right? So this is how the rook gives a check. Now, before we see how a bishop gives a check, you can see these numbers and alphabets over here, right? Those are the notation in chess. So if you want to play rook here, this square is e5. So basically we're moving rook to e5. If you want to play rook here, that is rook to c2. So like that, whenever you make a move, you can, if you want to tell someone, you can say I played queen a5, or I played king a2, or I played rook h2. You can say like that. So it's easier to tell moves when you're telling someone about moves. Now let us see how a bishop gives a check. So let's say black king is over here and white bishop is over here. All right. And white king somewhere far away. Okay. Okay. Now, is this a check? Is the black king already in check? You might think it's a check, but it's not. This is not a rook, right? It does not attack, it does not go straight. If this was a rook, it would be a check. But bishop goes diagonally, right? So if bishop is here, it's not a check to the king. King is not in danger. So when you move the bishop here, now it's a check. So it's showing it's a draw because we just have one bishop and we can't win a game with one bishop. That's why it's showing it's a draw half-half. You can ignore that. The bishop goes here, it's a check, right? So it's diagonal and the king is in danger. So king has to move somewhere safe. You can't go here. That is not possible, right? How do I get a red arrow? Yeah. So you can't go here. You can go to any of these squares. You can't go here also. That's also illegal because that's still check, right? So this is how the bishop gives a check. How else does the bishop give a check? Apart from f7, how else can this bishop move? To which square can this bishop move apart from f7 to give a check to this king? Can you find out? If you found out this f3 square, great. So bishop to f3 is also a check, right? King is in danger and black will move somewhere safe and the game goes on. Now let's go to the next piece. How does a queen give a check? Let's say king is over here. Queen can give check easily. Let's say queen's over here and white king is over here, right? Now, to give a check, what do we do with the queen? Queen can go straight or diagonal. So you can just move the queen here, it's a check. You can move queen over here, it's a check. You can even go queen here, but that would be bad for us. If you go there, king will take it, right? So we don't want to do that. How else can we give a check with this queen? You can also go here. That's also check, right? King is in danger. Queen goes diagonally as well, right? So that's a check. How else? We can go over here. Same, diagonal, right? You can also go here, but king will take it. So it's not a good check. So lot of squares are available for the queen to move, to attack the king, to give a check to the king, right? Let's go to the next piece. Let's see how the knight gives a check to the king. And by the way, king can never give a check to the king. If king is here, you can't move your king close to another king because then your king is not safe. So it is illegal to do that. So you can't give check with the king. Let's say we have a knight over here. Okay. Let's say knight's over here. So where do we move our knight to give a check? Again, it's a draw if you just have a knight, but we will learn that when we learn checkmate. So if you move the knight over here, 1-2 turn. So this was 1-2 turn. Yeah. Now again 1-2 turn will be on top of the king. So king is in danger right now. So it's a check. So king will save itself. It'll go somewhere safe. Can't go to these squares because the white king is here. The black king can't come to these squares, but any other square, black king can move to, right? So this is how the knight gives a check. Now let's say king is over here. Okay. Now where shall we move our knight to give a check to this king? Can you find out? You can take some time and figure out where to move the knight to give a check to this king. Is it this square? Will that be a check? No. If you go here, first of all, king will take it. Second, it's not check. Knight doesn't go straight. This would be L. This would be L. But this is not L. The king is not in danger. So that wouldn't be a check. We can go here. 1-2 turn. That's a check. Right? King is in check. Or you can also go here. That's also check. King has to move somewhere safe. King can't go here because the knight is still there. Right? Any other square, king can move to. And the game goes on. Now let's see how the pawn gives a check. So giving check is something you have to learn properly because that's how you win games, right? So let's say king is over here and we have a pawn over here. Okay. So if pawn is over here, it's not a check. Now, when we discuss pawns, we learned that pawns go forward. I forgot to tell you one thing actually. Pawns capture diagonally. So if there is something, let's say over here, the pawn can't take it. It's blocked. But if that rook is, sorry, if pawn is here and if that rook is over here, then the pawn can capture it. All the other pieces, they capture when there's something in the way. Even knight captures at the end of the end, right? But pawns capture diagonally. One step diagonally. If something is over here, the pawn can't take it. The pawn can't even move, it's blocked. But if something is over here, pawn can take it. Or if let's say something is over here, pawn can take it. Right? Pawns capture diagonally. So now that we know that, if black king is here and white's pawn is over here and white king somewhere far away, how does the pawn give a check? So pawns capture diagonally. So if pawn is diagonal to the king, king will be in danger. So we have to just move. Sorry, again, my bad. You can never have two kings on the board. So we just move the pawn one step forward. You can go two steps also because it's the starting square of the pawn. But two steps forward will not be a check. If you move it over here, it's a check. Here the king will be able to take the pawn, but we just wanted to learn how to give a check. Right? It's not a safe check. If there was, let's say, a rook over here, then the king can't take it. Right? Then it will be a safe check. But if that rook is not there, if some piece is not supporting the pawn, then the king will just take it. Right? King can go one step, so king can take this pawn. But it was a check. King can take it or move away. Of course, you would want to capture opponent's pieces. So king will just take it. And again, this will be a draw because only two kings are left. Nobody wins. So now we've learned what is check and how to give check with each piece. Right? Let us learn how to win games. And you win a chess game by giving checkmate. What is checkmate? Let me give an example. Let's say black king is over there. Okay. Let's say white rook is over here. And one more white rook is over here. And white king will always be there somewhere far away, doesn't matter. Let's say this is the position. All right. Can you give a check to this king with one of your rooks? Let's start with this rook. With this rook, how do you give a check? You know how to give a check, right? So if you go here, it's a check, but king will take it. But you can go here, it's a check. Then what will black do? Black will go somewhere safe. Can't go here or here, but he can go to any of these squares, right? And the game goes on after the king goes to any of those squares. So let's go back. Instead of this rook, what if you give a check with this rook? And how do you give a check with this? You can give a check like this. King will move somewhere safe. Or you can give a check like this. Right? It's a check. Now, is there anywhere for the king to move? Any safe square for the king to move? Can't go here. Any of these squares, the other rook is there. Can't go to any of these squares because the white rook is anywhere there. And you can't go two steps with the king. So that means the black king has no moves. Black king is in a check, but he has no way to save his king. Then the game is over. This is the end of the game. No more moves will be played. This is checkmate. Game over. So this is how you can give checkmate to a person. Checkmate can happen in a lot of ways. This was just one example of the game ending. Like basically you cover the last two lines with the rooks and game is over. Right? This is checkmate. Let me give you one more example of a checkmate. Let's say black king is over here. Okay. Let's say white queen's over here. And white rook is over here. And the king somewhere far away, doesn't matter. Now, how can we checkmate this king? We have to give him a check in such a way that the black king cannot move anywhere. So a check where the king can't escape. That is checkmate. So how do we do that? We can give a check with the queen, but king will escape. Right? So we don't want that. We can give a check like this also, king will go up or down. But when we play rook h8, it is checkmate. The game is over. Right? The king can't go to any of these squares. Queen is there. And can't go to any of these two squares because there's a rook. So there's no square for the king. The game is over. It is checkmate. Right? Let me give you one more example of checkmate so that you understand checkmate is possible in a lot of ways. Let's say black king is over there. All right. Let's say white queen is over here. You can give checkmate with a lot of pieces, different pieces. It doesn't have to be queen or rook. But queen or rook is the easiest piece to give checkmate. If you have a queen and rook, it will be very easy to give checkmate with. Let's say, sorry, not rook. Queen rook is easy, you just give checkmate like this. Not rook. Let's say there's a bishop over. here. And let's say white king is somewhere far away. Now we have a queen and bishop, right? So if you simply give a check like this or this, the king will escape. It won't be checkmate. It will just be a check. You won't win. The game goes on, right? But when you have support of another piece, let's say like the bishop in this case, you can go right in front of the king, and the king can't take it because bishop is there. If king comes here, it's not safe. So there's no square for the king to move because white queen is right here. You can't go right under the king queen's nose. Not possible. And you also cannot take the queen because that square is also not possible because that square is also not safe. So the queen is protected by a bishop in this case, which is why it is checkmate. If the bishop is not there and you do that move, it will be a blunder because king will just take your queen. You lose your most powerful piece. But if you have support, then you can go right in front of the king and it is checkmate. So that's it. You've learned checkmate. So when you play a chess game, your aim should be to capture opponent's pieces, and after capturing a lot of pieces, you will be able to give checkmate to the other king. So at the end of this video, I'll play a game against a computer and show you how a game works, what our aim should be while playing. But for now, we have learned these moments, check and checkmate. But before we play a game, we have to just learn the special rules as well. There are two special rules. That is, one is castling and the other is en passant. If it is too much information, you can pause this video and watch it later so that you don't get confused with too much info. You can play games, start playing games, and then later come back and watch this video. But if you want to learn now, then please continue by all means. So let's learn what is castling. All right. So this is how the starting position will be. Right. Now, castling is a move between the king and the rook. And that is possible only once in a game. You can do castling by moving the king 2 steps and rook over here. But you can do that only when there's no knight or bishop in between. There should be no piece in between king and rook. King and rook should be in their starting squares, which is this. Then you can do castling. I'll give you an example. Let's say we start with e4, the pawn forward. Let's say black also moves his pawn. Now we start bringing our pieces up. Knight's attacking the pawn. Black, let's say, defends it. Now we bring out our bishop. Let's say black also brings out his piece. There's nothing between the king and the rook, right? And the king and rook haven't moved at all still. Then we can do castling. We move the king 2 steps and put the rook next to the king. In online chess, it will happen automatically. Like if you move the king here, rook will automatically go to the other side. In offline chess, you have to pick up the king first, move it to 2 squares, and then pick up the rook and put it next to the king. It is one move. Like it's considered one move, even though it takes two things to do, moving the king and moving the rook, it's still one move. It's a special move called castling. The aim of castling is to keep the king safe. So instead of being in the middle of the board where it is right at the in the line of fire from all the pieces, king is now tucked away safely in his bed, and no piece can apparently touch it right now, right? Because there's safe set of pawns in front. King is very cozy, right? Now, if you want to make a small window for the king to run out of in desperate situations, that's also good. Then king will be even more happy. So we should try to do castling as fast as possible in a game. Right? When we start playing chess, that's our aim. We take out our pieces and we get the king to safety. So moving the king to safety by castling also achieves one more thing. Your rook is also active. Like before castling, this rook is stuck here. It has no future. But after castling, the rook is in the center. Once you move it one more step, it will be in a good square. So the castling has two purposes. Main purpose, getting king to safety. Second, connecting your rooks and making the rook active. Right? So that is one special rule, castling. The second special rule is called en passant. It's a French term which means in passing. It's a rule only for pawns. Castling was between king and rook, right? By the way, before we get to en passant, castling can also happen on this side, on the queen side, this side. This is the king side, this is the queen side. This side we do long castling. But even in long castling, because it's a longer side, we call it long castling. But king will still move 2 steps only. So imagine the knight and bishop has moved, and the queen has also moved, and king is in the starting square. Then you move 2 steps, and rook comes right next to the king. So that is long side castling or queen side castling. Okay. Now about en passant. En passant is only for pawns. Let me give you an example. Let's say pawns over here. Okay. I mean, let's say white push the pawn. Let's continue the game instead of castling white push, which is not a good idea. I'm just showing an en passant. Let's say black moved his bishop. We move the pawn one more. Now, if a pawn moves 2 steps and passes your pawn, then you can take that pawn like this. When you see it for the first time, you will think it is illegal. What sorcery did my opponent do just now? What magic is this? But it's not magic, it's a rule in chess. If any pawn moves 2 steps and passes by your pawn, you can take it. If you want to, no pressure, it's up to you. If you want to take it, you can take it. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. But it's available only in the next move, immediate next move. You can't do it after 2 moves. Like after the pawn moves 2 steps, if you make some other move and he makes some other move, you can't do 1% because the time has already passed. You can do it only immediately after the pawn moves 2 steps, right? And this is only for pawns, not for other pieces. And it's only when a pawn passes by you by moving 2 steps. You can't do it every time a pawn passes you. Like for example, imagine a situation where, let's say, black pawn was here, you moved here, and black moved this pawn 1 step. You can't do 1%. That's not possible. The pawn has just moved 1 step. That's not 1%. If the pawn had moved 2 steps and your pawn was here, then you can take 1%. Right? The same applies to your opponent. If your pawn moves 2 steps, let's imagine a situation like that. Let's say, let's go back. Let's say we move this. He moved this. Yeah. Now, if you move 2 steps, he can take 1% if he wants to, right? And here, of course, you'll take back with the pawn, let's say, and the game goes on. But sometimes 1% is a crucial part of the game. So we have learned both the special rules. So that means we've learned chess. So that's pretty much the rules of chess. It doesn't take too much effort to too much time to learn how to play chess. Now, how to play good chess, that's a long journey. But at least this is the way we start. You've started, and that's good. You've learned how to play a game of chess. Now, once you see how a game of chess is played, like I'll show you a game with computer, then you will understand how to think and how to get good positions during a game. So let's head over to our favorite computer, Martin. This is, by the way, chess.com. This is where you can play casually with opponents online. So this is Martin over here. It's already selected. Let's go to choose, challenge, and play. Computer gives us white. So the best way to start a chess game is by moving the center pawn because that opens up our bishop and queen. Right? Let's see what Martin plays. Martin plays another pawn here. Now we can slowly bring out our pieces, the knight out, then move pawn forward and take the bishop out. But before that, we can put one more pawn in the center. Right? Usually, black players play e5. Then if you play d4, it's not that safe, right? Your queen's coming out too early. We don't want that. But here he played a slow move. So then we will put one more pawn in the center. Let's see what Martin does. Martin gives a check. It's not a good idea to bring the queen out too early. So this is not a problem. It's just a check. Now we don't want to move the king. If you move the king, we cannot castle. Our king will be stuck in the center. We don't want that. We can block. We can block with the pawn. We can block with the bishop. We can block with the knight. And even the queen, right? Even this pawn, but then queen will take it. So we have four options to block the check. So what do I want to do? I'm going to bring the bishop out. Now we are attacking their queen. Queen moves away. Always see what your opponent is threatening. Queen's attacking this pawn. Queen's attacking this pawn. I just move my bishop here to protect both the pawns. Martin pushes another pawn. Not a good idea to push too many pawns in the opening. If you see, I've just made 2 useful pawn moves. Now I'm not going to touch any of the pawns for no reason. I'm going to bring out my knights and then bishop, and then castle. Martin moves his pawn. I want to bring this knight out. I can bring it here or here. I can also bring out my bishop. So I want to castle quickly, so let me bring the bishop out. We want our pieces to be on good squares, like this knight's good here. If I put it here, it's not great. It's in the corner. Now this knight has 2 options. I can go here or here. I don't want the corner I don't like the corner too much. I want to bring it here to the center. He moved his king for no reason. Now he can't castle because he moved the king. I can castle. My king is safe now, right? Tucked away in the corner. He moves the king again. So Martin is a very easy computer. If you play well, like decent chess, you'll be able to win. What's the next step? All my pieces are active. I can push my pawns forward, or I can just activate my queen, right? And then I can bring the rooks in, and everything will be perfect. Now I'll bring my rook in. I'm just developing my pieces, and I'm bringing the next rook also. So if you see, all my pieces are happy and smiling. Everybody is happy. He pushes one more pawn. I'll just want to make a small window for my king. So I'll just move my pawn so that king can escape if required. He can jump out the window. He moves his bishop. So all the pieces are active. It's time to make them even better. So I want to give this check, that would be nice, but my knight's blocking it. And I can't move the knight anyway useful. If I take this, I'll lose my knight. Right? I'm just going to play e5. Is that good? If he takes, I'll take back. If he takes, I'll take back. So no problem. Let's play e5. He pushes forward. He's attacking my bishop. If I take it, I lose my bishop. So I'll just quietly move my bishop back. No problem. Now I can take this. He can take back, of course. He didn't take back. Then I'll take this also. Whatever we get, we'll take. He doesn't take. Oh, that's a big blunder because he's losing his bishop. I mean, my pawn reaches the end, it'll become a queen, but he'll take it, of course. What next? We have to look for captures, right? Captures and checks. So there is this check. King can't take it, rook is there, but bishop will take it. Not safe. This is also not safe. Knight will take it. If knight wasn't there, this would be checkmate almost. We'll take this pawn. That's a capture, free pawn. I'm going to take it. What does Martin do? He attacks the knight. Now, of course, I want to save my knight, but before that, I can give a check to the king. He has to save his king. No? He can't take my knight. Free piece. I'll take that again. Free piece. The end is very near. Now, checkmate in one move. We can give checkmate to the black king in one move. Can you find out how? Again, your knight's hanging, but doesn't matter. If you give a check and he can't move anywhere, game is over. So how do I finish off the game? Remember when we learned checkmate, we learned that if the queen goes next to the king or in front of the king with support, then game is over. Then it is checkmate. But if I go here, king will just take it. But is there a square around the king which is protected by any piece? The knight is protecting the square, no? So I can go here. It's checkmate. Game over. Right? So this is how we play chess. We bring out our pieces. It's better to bring the center pawn forward first. E or D. Queen's pawn or king's pawn. I mean, king's pawn or queen's pawn. And then we slowly bring out our knights and bishops. And then we do castling. And then whenever there is a capture to be made, if it is safe, if it is good, we'll do it. If it is not safe, we won't do it. Now, before we end our video, there's just one thing I want to tell you, which I forgot earlier, right? The value of the pieces. The queen is worth 9 points, the most powerful piece. Rook is worth 5 points. The bishop is worth 3 points. Knight is also worth 3 points. It's the value of each piece. So the most powerful is queen 9, then rook 5, bishop 3, knight 3, and pawn is 1 point. Okay, king we don't give points to. It's not the king is not powerful at all, but you can never capture a king in chess. You can only give checkmate to the king, right? So we don't give points to the king. The king is powerful, but no points for the king, right? Now remember one thing: when you play chess, you win the game by giving checkmate, like this. You can never capture the opponent's king. Like this is not going to happen. Once this move is done, queen f7 is done, game is over, right? And the next game starts or we go home. So this is how we play chess, and hope you enjoyed learning how to play the game. And if you had any doubts, if you have any doubt, just post it in the comments, and I'll reply to it. And start playing chess, people. You can just go to chess.com, create an account, and then go to play computer or just play, and you will be playing with random opponents from different parts of the world or against computer. And slowly you will get better and better, and you will become a good chess player.